The text meant for her deadbeat ex went to the wrong number, a number belonging to Alessio Castelli, the most feared Mafia boss in the city. Now black SUVs surrounded Sophia's apartment building, their engines humming like predators circling prey. One wrong text, one terrible mistake, and her entire world was about to shatter. If you want to know how a single mother's desperate plea for child support turned into a deadly game of survival with the criminal underworld, stay with me until the end. And comment below which city you're watching from. I'd love to see how far this story reaches. The fluorescent lights in the emergency room waiting area buzzed overhead, casting everything in a sickly green pallor that made Sophia Ellis feel even more exhausted than she already was. She shifted in the uncomfortable plastic chair, her 6-year-old daughter Emma curled against her side, small body burning with fever despite the medication they'd given her an hour ago. The digital clock on the wall read 11:47 p.m. They'd been here since 8. "Mommy, my throat hurts," Emma whispered, her voice raspy and weak. "I know, baby. I know." Sophia pressed a kiss to her daughter's damp forehead, her heart breaking at how small and fragile Emma felt in her arms. "The doctor will see us soon." It was a lie, and they both knew it. The emergency room was packed with people who had been waiting longer than them. A man holding a bloodied towel to his head, a teenager doubled over with stomach pain, an elderly woman wheezing into an oxygen mask. Sophia had already asked the triage nurse twice when they might be seen, and both times she'd gotten the same apologetic shrug and vague promise of, as soon as possible. Her phone vibrated in her pocket. Sophia pulled it out with her free hand, squinting at the bright screen. Another bill notification. The pharmacy. $247.83 for Emma's antibiotics from last week, the ones that hadn't even worked. Her stomach clenched. That would overdraw her account. Again. She navigated to her messages with trembling fingers. Michael's name sat there at the top of her recent conversations, their last exchange from 3 weeks ago when he'd sworn he'd send the child support payment. She'd believed him fool that she was. She always believed him even after 2 years of broken promises and excuses. The rage that had been simmering in her chest all day suddenly boiled over. Her fingers flew across the keyboard, exhaustion and desperation making her reckless. "Michael, I'm done with your lies and excuses. Emma is in the ER again with a 103-degree fever, and I can't even afford her medication because you haven't sent a single penny in 3 months. You promised me $5,000 by last Friday. Where is it? I know about your side business. I know about the money you're hiding. Don't make me come after you for it. I'm desperate enough to do whatever it takes. You have 24 hours to transfer the money, or I swear to God I will make your life hell. I know things about you that could destroy everything. Don't test me." She hit send before she could second-guess herself, her heart pounding with a mixture of anger and fear. She'd never threatened him before, never mentioned his side business, the shady dealings she'd only learned about through a mutual friend last month. But Emma needed that medicine. Emma needed a specialist. Emma needed a father who gave a damn, but since that was never going to happen, she'd settle for his money. The phone buzzed immediately. That was fast, even for Michael. Maybe she'd finally gotten through to him. But the response made her blood run cold. "I don't know who Michael is, but you've just made a very serious mistake." Sophia's stomach dropped. She looked at the contact name again, her tired eyes focusing properly for the first time. It wasn't Michael's number. In her exhaustion, she'd selected the wrong contact, a number she didn't even recognize, probably from when Emma had been playing with her phone last week, pressing random buttons. Before she could process what to do, another message appeared. Threats are taken very seriously in my world, Ms. Ellis. And yes, I know exactly who you are. The use of her name sent ice through her veins. How did this person know who she was? Her number was unlisted. She started to type an apology, her fingers shaking, but more messages flooded in. Single mother. Daughter named Emma, age 6. Currently at St. Mary's Hospital emergency room. Living at 4782 Riverside Drive, apartment 3B. Working as a paralegal at Henderson & Associates. Driving a 2018 Honda Civic license plate RMV 8923. Sophia couldn't breathe. She pulled Emma closer, looking around the crowded emergency room with new eyes. Was someone watching them? How did this person know where they were right now? This is a mistake, she typed frantically. Wrong number. I'm sorry. Please. Mistakes in my world have consequences, Sophia. You mentioned knowing things that could destroy everything. You threatened to make someone's life hell. These are not words to use carelessly. Please, I have a sick child. It was meant for my ex-husband. I'm nobody. I don't know anything about you or your business. There was a pause. Then, your ex-husband is Michael Donovan. The fact that this stranger knew Michael's last name, which she hadn't mentioned, made her hands shake harder. Yes. Interesting. Very interesting. Stay exactly where you are. What? No, please, this is all a misunderstanding. But the messages stopped. Sophia stared at her phone, her mind racing. Should she call the police and tell them what? That she'd accidentally sent a threatening text to the wrong number? And now that person knew everything about her, they'd think she was crazy. Emma stirred against her. Mommy, you're squeezing too tight. Sorry, baby. Sophia loosened her grip, forcing herself to take deep breaths. It was probably just someone trying to scare her. Some internet troll who'd done a quick social media search. Her Facebook profile was public. She'd been meaning to change the privacy settings, but never got around to it. That had to be it. 20 minutes passed. Then 30. Emma had fallen into a fitful sleep, her breathing labored but steady. Sophia was just starting to convince herself that nothing would come of the strange text exchange when she noticed the security guard by the emergency room entrance straighten up his hand, moving to his radio. Through the glass doors, she saw them. 3 black SUVs pulling up to the emergency room entrance, their windows tinted so dark they looked like portals to another dimension. They parked in perfect formation, blocking the ambulance bay. The security guard was speaking rapidly into his radio, now his other hand hovering near his hip, where Sophia suspected he kept a weapon. The doors of the middle SUV opened, and out stepped a man who made every person in the emergency room stop and stare. He was tall, maybe 6'2", dressed in a charcoal suit that probably cost more than Sophia made in 3 months. His dark hair was slicked back, revealing sharp cheekbones and a jaw that could cut glass. But it was his eyes that made her stomach clench, cold and gray like winter storms, scanning the emergency room with the calculating precision of a predator. 2 more men flanked him, both built like brick walls, their faces expressionless behind dark sunglasses despite the late hour. They moved with him in perfect synchronization, like they'd done this dance 1,000 times before. The security guard stepped forward, his hand now firmly on his weapon. Sir, you can't park there. That's for emergency vehicles only. The man in the suit reached into his jacket, and Sophia saw the security guard tense. But instead of a weapon, he pulled out a leather wallet, flipping it open to reveal something that made the guard's face go pale. Of course, Mr. Castelli. I apologize. I didn't realize. Castelli. The name hit Sophia like a physical blow. Even she, who lived in her small bubble of work and single motherhood, knew that name. Alessio Castelli. He controlled half the city's underworld, though officially he was just a businessman with interests in nightclubs, restaurants, and real estate. The kind of man whose name was whispered in police stations and corporate boardrooms alike. The kind of man you never ever wanted to notice you existed. And she had just sent him a threatening text message. His eyes swept the emergency room and locked onto hers with laser precision. There was no doubt, no searching. He knew exactly who she was and where she was sitting. He began walking toward her, his men falling into step behind him. Every instinct in Sophia's body screamed at her to run, but she couldn't. Emma was too sick, too weak. And where would they go? This man knew where she lived, where she worked, what she drove. Running would only make things worse. Ms. Ellis. His voice was deep and smooth with just a hint of an accent she couldn't place. Italian maybe, but refined by years of expensive education. We need to talk. The entire emergency room was watching now, people shrinking back in their seats, as if trying to become invisible. Even the triage nurse had stopped what she was doing, her hand frozen over her keyboard. My daughter is sick. Sophia managed to say, her voice barely above a whisper. Please, whatever this is about, can it wait? No. The word was soft, but final. It cannot. He looked down at Emma and something in his expression shifted, became almost human for a moment. She has strep throat. High fever, difficulty swallowing, probably scarlet fever rash developing on her chest. Sophia blinked. How do you... I have access to her medical records. Every emergency room visit in the last 2 years. Every prescription. Every missed appointment because you couldn't afford the copay. He pulled out his phone, typed something quickly. Dr. Morrison will see her in approximately 3 minutes. He's the head of pediatrics here, just finishing up with another patient. I don't understand. Your text message, Ms. Ellis. You mentioned Michael Donovan's side business. You threatened to expose things that could destroy everything. He leaned down slightly, and she could smell his cologne, something expensive and dangerous. Do you have any idea what your ex-husband has gotten himself involved in? No. I mean, I heard he was doing something illegal, but I don't know the details. I just said that to scare him into paying child support. Alessio studied her for a long moment, those storm-gray eyes seeming to peer into her soul. Michael Donovan owes me $2 million. He also stole something from me, something worth far more than money. And now you're telling me you know about his business dealings. I don't know anything, Sophia said quickly, pulling Emma closer. I swear, it was just an empty threat. I was desperate. Desperate people do desperate things, Alessio said softly. The question is whether your desperation makes you useful or dangerous. Before Sophia could respond, a doctor in a white coat appeared. Dr. Morrison, according to his badge, looking slightly out of breath, as if he'd been running. Ms. Ellis, I can see Emma now. If you'll follow me. Sophia started to stand, but Alessio's hand on her shoulder stopped her. It wasn't forceful, just firm enough to make his point. We'll continue this conversation after your daughter is treated, he said. My men will wait outside the examination room. Don't try to leave through another exit. Every door in this hospital is being watched. You can't just... I can do whatever I want, Ms. Ellis. The sooner you understand that, the better this will go for both you and Emma. He stepped back, gesturing for her to follow the doctor. Go. Take care of your daughter. We'll speak when she's stable. Sophia wanted to argue, wanted to scream for security, for the police, for anyone. But the way everyone in the emergency room was studiously avoiding eye contact told her everything she needed to know. No one was going to help her. No one dared to cross Alessio Castelli. She gathered Emma in her arms, her daughter stirring slightly at the movement. Come on, baby. The doctor's going to make you feel better. As she followed Dr. Morrison down the hallway, she could feel Alessio's eyes on her back, could hear the measured footsteps of his men following at a discreet distance. The examination room was private, at least with a proper bed and monitoring equipment that looked far more advanced than what she'd seen in the general emergency area. Dr. Morrison was gentle with Emma, his examination thorough but quick. He confirmed what Alessio had somehow already known: severe strep throat that had developed into scarlet fever. He started an IV with antibiotics and fluids, and within minutes, Emma was sleeping more peacefully, her fever already beginning to drop. "She'll need to stay for observation for a few hours," Dr. Morrison said, not quite meeting Sophia's eyes. "But she should be fine. The antibiotics we're using are, well, they're the best available. She's in good hands." The way he said it made Sophia wonder exactly what strings Alessio had pulled. This level of care, this private room, the head of pediatrics personally treating them, none of it was normal for someone with her lousy insurance. "Thank you," she said, because what else could she say? Dr. Morrison nodded and left quickly, clearly eager to be away from whatever situation he'd been pulled into. Sophia sat in the chair beside Emma's bed, holding her small hand, watching the steady rise and fall of her chest. The door opened, and Alessio entered alone, having left his men outside. He moved with the fluid grace of someone completely comfortable, with power pulling up a chair across from her. In the harsh hospital lighting, she could see him more clearly, the faint scar along his left jaw, the calluses on his knuckles that suggested his rise to power hadn't been without physical confrontation, the way his eyes never stopped assessing, calculating. "Tell me about Michael," he said without preamble. "We were married for 4 years, divorced 2 years ago. He's supposed to pay child support but rarely does. That's it. That's all I know." "You mentioned his side business." Sophia hesitated. "A friend told me he was involved in something shady, moving money for people, maybe drugs. I don't know the details, I just wanted to scare him into paying what he owes." "Moving money?" Alessio's expression darkened. "Yes, he was moving money. My money. Until he decided to disappear with $2 million and a flash drive containing information that could destroy my entire operation. I don't know anything about that." "Perhaps not. But Michael doesn't know that, does he?" Alessio leaned back in his chair, studying her. "When did you last speak to him?" 3 weeks ago. He promised to send money and then ghosted me. It's his pattern." "And you have no idea where he is?" "No, he moves around a lot. Different apartments, different girlfriends. He's good at disappearing when he doesn't want to be found." Alessio pulled out his phone, scrolled through something, then showed her the screen. It was a photograph of Michael, but recent. He looked rougher than she remembered, paranoid. His eyes darting to the side as if checking for surveillance. "This was taken 4 days ago in Atlantic City. He's been gambling with my money, thinking he can turn it into enough to pay me back and keep the rest. Foolish man." "Why are you telling me this?" "Because you're going to help me find him." Sophia's heart sank. "I told you I don't know where he is." "No, but he'll contact you, especially after he learns that I've found you and Emma." At her sharp intake of breath, he held up a hand. "I don't harm children, Ms. Ellis, or their mothers unless given reason to. But Michael doesn't know that. He knows my reputation. He'll assume you're in danger. You want to use us as bait." Such a crude term. I prefer to think of it as mutual benefit. You help me recover what's mine, and I ensure you receive every penny Michael owes you in child support. Plus interest. Plus Emma gets the best medical care money can buy. That recurring strep throat, it's because she needs her tonsils removed. The surgery is already scheduled for next week at a private clinic, all expenses paid. Sophia stared at him. You can't just arrange surgery for my daughter without my consent. I can arrange many things, Ms. Ellis. The question is whether you'll be smart enough to accept the help. He leaned forward. Your daughter is sick because you can't afford proper health care. You're drowning in debt because Michael abandoned his responsibilities. You're one missed paycheck away from homelessness. I'm offering you a way out. In exchange for what betraying my ex-husband to the Mafia, he betrayed you first. Every time he chose not to send that child support payment. Every time he let Emma go without while he gambled and partied. Every time he ignored your calls while your daughter suffered. His voice was calm, reasonable, which somehow sent it more terrifying. I'm not asking you to hurt him. I'm asking you to help me retrieve what's mine. Michael will face consequences for his theft, yes, but those consequences are already determined. Your involvement or lack thereof won't change his fate. You're going to kill him. Alessio didn't answer directly. Michael made his choices. Now you must make yours. Continue struggling alone, watching your daughter suffer, always one crisis away from disaster. Or accept my help and give Emma the life she deserves. And if I refuse, if I go to the police, with what? A story about accidentally texting a wrong number. There's no evidence of this conversation. Dr. Morrison will say he treated you as a professional courtesy. The security footage from tonight has already been erased. I'm just a concerned citizen who happened to be at the hospital. He stood smoothing his suit. But more importantly, if you go to the police who will protect you when Michael's other creditors come calling, he owes money to people far less civilized than me, Ms. Ellis. People who won't hesitate to use you and Emma to flush him out. The truth of his words hit her like a physical blow. She'd known Michael was in trouble, but not how deep. And now, whether she wanted it or not, she was involved. What do you need me to do? For now, nothing. Go home when Emma is released. Go to work tomorrow. Live your normal life. But keep your phone close. When Michael contacts you, and you'll let me know immediately. How do you know he'll contact me? Alessio moved to the door, pausing with his hand on the handle. Because in approximately 6 hours he's going to receive a very interesting set of photographs. You and Emma at this hospital. Me sitting in this room with you. My men outside. He'll draw his own conclusions. You're painting a target on our backs. The target was already there the moment you became leverage against him. I'm simply making it visible and, more importantly, making myself the shield between you and anyone who might try to use it. He opened the door, revealing his men still standing guard. There will be security at your apartment building. Discreet but present. Anyone who tries to approach you or Emma will go through them first. We're prisoners. You're protected. There's a significant difference which you'll come to appreciate. He pulled out a business card, black with silver lettering. Just a phone number, no name. When Michael calls, you'll text this number immediately. Don't try to warn him. Don't try to negotiate with him yourself. Your daughter's safety depends on your cooperation. After he left, Sophia sat in the quiet room watching Emma sleep, her mind racing. In the span of 2 hours, her life had been turned completely upside down. One wrong text, one moment of desperate anger, and now she was caught between her criminal ex-husband and one of the most dangerous men in the city. Her phone buzzed. A notification from her banking app. She opened it, expecting to see another overdraft notice. Instead, she saw a deposit, $10,000. The memo line read simply, "For Emma's immediate needs, AC." She should return it, should refuse to be bought. But looking at her daughter, so small and pale in the hospital bed, thinking of all the medications they couldn't afford, the specialists they couldn't see, the stability she couldn't provide. Sophia knew she was already lost. Another text came through, this one from an unknown number. "Mrs. Ellis, this is Marcus. I'll be part of your security detail. Black sedan parked outside the main entrance when you're ready to leave. Take your time." Security detail. As if she was someone important instead of a struggling single mother who couldn't even afford her daughter's antibiotics. The irony wasn't lost on her. Emma stirred, her eyes fluttering open. "Mommy, I'm here, baby. My throat doesn't hurt as much. That's good. The medicine is working. Can we go home soon?" Sophia looked at the IV bag dripping steadily into her daughter's arm, thought of the men waiting outside the target, now painted on their backs, the dangerous game she'd been pulled into. "Soon, baby. Rest a little more." As Emma drifted back to sleep, Sophia's phone lit up with another message. This time it was from Michael. Her heart stopped as she read it. "What have you done? Why is Alessio Castelli at the hospital with you, Sophia? You have no idea what you've gotten yourself into. Don't trust him. Don't tell him anything. I'm coming for you and Emma." She stared at the message, her finger hovering over the business card Alessio had left. One text to that number, and she'd be setting events in motion that couldn't be stopped. But the alternative, waiting for Michael to come for them, seemed even more dangerous. Michael, who had abandoned them, who had stolen from the Mafia, who had left them vulnerable to all of this. Before she could second-guess herself, she forwarded Michael's message to the number on the card. The response was immediate. "Thank you, stay put. Everything is under control." Under control. Sophia almost laughed at the absurdity of it. Nothing about this situation was under control. She was trapped in a hospital room with her sick daughter caught between her criminal ex-husband and a Mafia boss, her life hanging by threads she couldn't even see. But as she sat there in the quiet room watching Emma sleep peacefully for the first time in days, feeling the weight of that $10,000 sitting in her account, like a promise of better things, Sophia realized something. For the first time in 2 years, she wasn't facing this alone. It might be the devil himself offering help, but it was help nonetheless. The door opened again, and a nurse entered with a tray of food, not the usual hospital fare, but what looked like a meal from an expensive restaurant. Soup that smelled like heaven, fresh bread, a salad with ingredients she couldn't even name. "Mr. Castelli arranged for this to be brought in," the nurse said, setting it on the table. "He said you probably haven't eaten all day." She hadn't. She couldn't even remember her last proper meal. As she picked up the spoon, Sophia wondered if this was how it started. Not with threats or violence, but with kindness, with help when you needed it most, with solutions to problems that had seemed insurmountable just hours before. Her phone buzzed again. "Michael." "Don't trust him, Sophia. He's using you. Pack up, Emma, and run. I have money hidden. I can help you disappear." She almost laughed. Now he had money, now he wanted to help. After 2 years of broken promises and abandoned responsibilities, now he wanted to play the hero. She deleted his message without responding and took another sip of the soup. It was the best thing she'd tasted in months. In the bed beside her, Emma's breathing was easy and peaceful, her fever finally breaking. Maybe she was making a deal with the devil. Maybe this would all end badly. But right now, in this moment, her daughter was getting the care she needed. There was money in her account, and someone, even if that someone was a dangerous criminal, was standing between them and whatever storm was coming. One wrong text had changed everything, and despite the fear still coursing through her veins, despite the uncertainty of what came next, Sophia couldn't shake the feeling that maybe, just maybe, it hadn't been wrong at all. Maybe it had been exactly the text she was meant to send. The black sedan waited exactly where Marcus had promised, its engine purring, in the pre-dawn darkness as Sophia carried Emma out of the hospital. Her daughter was still groggy from the medications, but stable, wrapped in a hospital blanket that probably cost more than Sophia's monthly grocery budget. Marcus stepped out to open the door for them, his massive frame moving with surprising gentleness as he helped settle Emma in the back seat. "Mr. Castelli wanted to ensure you got home safely," he said, his voice a low rumble that somehow managed to be both reassuring and terrifying. The ride through the empty city streets was surreal. Sophia had taken this route hundreds of times in her beat-up Honda, but from inside the sedan's leather interior with its tinted windows and silent engine, it felt like traveling through a different world entirely. Emma dozed against her shoulder, and Sophia found herself staring at their reflection in the dark glass, wondering who these people were that needed a security detail. Her phone hadn't stopped buzzing. Michael had sent 12 more messages, each more frantic than the last. She'd forwarded them all to Alessio's number without reading them, completely afraid that if she absorbed too much of Michael's panic, it would become her own. When they pulled up to her apartment building, Sophia's stomach dropped. 2 more black vehicles were parked outside their presence, as subtle as a neon sign. Mrs. Chen from 2B was peering through her curtains, and Sophia could already imagine the gossip that would spread through the building by morning. "Don't worry about the neighbors," Marcus said, as if reading her mind. "Mr. Castelli owns the building as of 3 hours ago. He bought my apartment building. He acquired it through one of his holding companies. Seemed easier than trying to coordinate security with an uncooperative landlord." Marcus helped her get Emma out of the car. "Your rent is now free, by the way. Permanently." The words should have filled her with relief, but instead they terrified her. Every kindness, every gesture of help was another chain binding her to Alessio Castelli's world. She understood now why he was so successful. He didn't rule through fear alone, but through obligation, through debts of gratitude that could never quite be repaid. Their apartment looked exactly as she'd left it that morning, yet everything felt different. The peeling paint and water stains on the ceiling seemed more pronounced, as if the space itself knew it no longer fit their new reality. Sophia tucked Emma into bed, smoothing her hair back from her forehead, which was finally cool to the touch. "Mommy, who was that man at the hospital?" Emma murmured, half asleep. "Just someone Mommy knows from work." Sophia lied the words, tasting bitter. "He had nice eyes. Sad, but nice." Sophia's hand stilled. Trust a child to see what adults tried to hide. She hadn't thought of Alessio's eyes as sad, but now that Emma mentioned it, there had been something in them when he'd looked at her daughter. A shadow of something lost, perhaps. "Go to sleep, baby. You need to rest." After Emma drifted off, Sophia walked to the living room window. Sure enough, the black sedan was still there, parked across the street. As she watched, another car drove slowly past, and she saw Marcus step out of the sedan, his hand moving to his hip in a gesture that was unmistakably a warning. The other car sped up and disappeared around the corner. Her phone rang. Not a text this time, but an actual call. Michael. She stared at it, knowing she should answer, knowing Alessio would want her to gather information. But her hands were shaking too badly to swipe the screen. It rang again. On the third ring, she answered. "Sophia, thank God." Michael's voice was raw with panic. "Are you okay? Is Emma okay?" "We're fine." The normalcy of her tone surprised her. "Listen to me very carefully. You need to pack right now. Take Emma and go to your mother's house in Boston. Don't pack much, just grab essentials and go. I'll meet you there." "My mother's been dead for 3 years, Michael. You'd know that if you'd bothered to show up for the funeral." There was a pause. Right. I'm sorry." I'm not thinking straight. Sophia Alessio Castelli is not someone you want to be involved with. I wasn't given much choice, was I? You stole from him, and now he thinks I know something about it. I didn't steal. He stopped himself. It's complicated. Look, I was moving money for him, yes. But I discovered something about what he's really doing. The money I took, it's evidence. I'm trying to protect people. Sophia almost laughed. Protect people? You can't even protect your own daughter. She was in the ER tonight with a 103-degree fever, and where were you? I've been trying to keep you both safe by staying away. They've been watching you for weeks, Sophia. I knew if I came near you... Stop! She cut him off, anger flaring hot in her chest. You don't get to play the noble sacrifice card. You abandoned us long before any of this happened. I'm trying to fix this. The flash drive I took, it has information about Castelli's human trafficking operations. Girls, Sophia. Some of them not much older than Emma will be in a few years. The words hit her like ice water. She looked toward Emma's room, then back at the sedan parked outside. You're lying. I'm not. Why do you think I ran? It wasn't about the money. I was going to turn it over to the FBI, but I needed insurance first. The money was just to keep me alive long enough to make the deal. Then why haven't you? Because they have people everywhere. The moment I surface, I'm dead. But now they have you, and that changes everything. His voice dropped. Has he hurt you and threatened you? No. The admission felt strange. He's been helpful. Emma's getting the medical care she needs. Michael's bitter laugh echoed through the phone. Of course he has. That's how he works. He makes you need him, depend on him, and by the time you realize what you've gotten into, it's too late to get out. A soft knock at her door made her jump. It was past 3 in the morning. No one should be knocking. She approached carefully, looking through the peephole. Marcus stood there, his face impassive. Hold on, she told Michael, muting the phone. She opened the door with the chain still on. What is it, Mr.? Castelli wants to know if you need anything for Emma. Medicine, food, anything at all. The timing was too perfect. He knew she was on the phone with Michael. Of course he did. This was a reminder, a gentle pressure. She was being watched, monitored, managed. We're fine, thank you. Marcus nodded and walked away. She closed the door and unmuted the phone. Who was that? Michael demanded. Security. The building is being watched. Jesus Christ. Sophia, you're in a cage. Can't you see that? A comfortable cage with good health care and paid rent, she shot back. Which is more than you ever provided. I'm going to fix this. I'm going to get you both out. How you can't even pay child support, but somehow you're going to take on the Mafia. I have a plan. The FBI, they want Castelli bad. If I can deliver the evidence, then do it. Go to them. End this. It's not that simple. I need leverage. He paused. I need you to do something for me. Absolutely not. Just listen. There's a safety deposit box at First National on Riverside. Box 447. I put something there for Emma before all this started. Legal documents, some money, things she might need if something happens to me. Can you get it? How I'm not on the authorization. I added you 6 months ago. I knew this might go bad, and I wanted to make sure Emma was protected. You added me to a safety deposit box, but couldn't send a single child support payment. Sophia, please. There's $50,000 in cash in that box. Take it. Take Emma and run. Today, before this gets worse. $50,000. Enough to start over somewhere, to get Emma proper treatment, to escape this nightmare. But even as she considered it, she knew it was impossible. Alessio would know the moment she tried to access that box. His reach extended everywhere. Michael had said so himself. "I can't," she said finally. "Can't or won't. Both." "Michael, whatever you've done, whatever you're involved in, you need to fix it. Go to the FBI. Turn over the evidence. End this. And spend the rest of my life in witness protection. Never see Emma again." "You don't see her now. That's different. This is temporary. Once I figure out how to—" The line went dead. Not disconnected, but dead, as if the signal had been cut. She looked at her phone screen. The call had ended, but not from her side. A new text appeared from Alessio's number. "That's enough for tonight. You need rest. We'll speak in the morning." The casual display of power cutting off her phone call like flipping a switch should have angered her. Instead, it just left her feeling exhausted. She was so far out of her depth she couldn't even see the surface anymore. She checked on Emma one more time, then collapsed into her own bed fully clothed. Sleep seemed impossible, but somehow the exhaustion won. She drifted off to the sound of engines idling outside her window, her protectors and captors maintaining their vigil. The sunlight streaming through her bedroom window woke her. For a moment everything felt normal. Then the events of the night came crashing back, and she bolted upright. Emma's room was empty, her bed neatly made. Panic seized her throat. "Emma." She ran to the living room to find her daughter sitting at their small dining table eating pancakes and chatting animatedly with a woman in her 50s, wearing a neat cardigan. "Mommy!" Emma brightened. "Mrs. Russo made pancakes with real maple syrup." The woman stood extending her hand. "I'm Francesca Russo. Mr. Castelli sent me to help with Emma while you're adjusting to the new situation. He sent a nanny. I prefer child care specialist." Francesca's smile was warm but professional. "I've been with Mr. Castelli's organization for 15 years. I've raised many children under unusual circumstances." The implication was clear. This wasn't the first time Alessio had needed to manage a family caught in his web. Sophia wondered what had happened to the others, whether they'd adapted to their new reality or found a way to escape it. "Emma, why don't you go get dressed?" Sophia suggested. "We need to get ready for school." "Actually," Francesca interjected, "Mr. Castelli has arranged for Emma to have the day off. Her fever only broke a few hours ago, and the doctor recommended at least 24 hours of rest. I wasn't aware the doctor made house calls to check on her. He didn't need to. Her vital signs were monitored remotely through the night." Francesca pointed to a small device on Emma's wrist that Sophia hadn't noticed. "Medical-grade monitoring. Mr. Castelli takes the welfare of children very seriously." Emma ran off to play in her room, leaving the two women alone. Francesca's demeanor shifted slightly, becoming less grandmotherly and more businesslike. "I know this is overwhelming," she said, "but you should know that Mr. Castelli's protection is absolute. No one will harm you or Emma while you're under his care. And when we're no longer useful, when he's found Michael and recovered his money." Francesca's expression softened. "I've seen Mr. Castelli do many harsh things in the name of business, but I've never seen him harm a child or a mother who didn't betray him first. Cooperate, be honest, and you'll come out of this better than you went in." "You sound like you're speaking from experience." "My son owed Mr. Castelli money 12 years ago. Gambling debts. He couldn't pay, tried to run. Mr. Castelli could have killed him. Instead, he put him to work, taught him the business. Today, my son runs 3 of Mr. Castelli's restaurants. He's successful, married, has children of his own. A happy ending. A practical one. Mr. Castelli is a businessman above all. Dead men don't repay debts. Broken families don't build loyalty. He understands that fear is useful, but gratitude is more powerful." Sophia's phone buzzed. A message from an unknown number, but she recognized the formal tone immediately. Alessio. A car will arrive at 10 a.m. We have matters to discuss. It wasn't a request. She looked at the clock, 9:15. Barely enough time to shower and change. I'll watch Emma, Francesca said, reading the situation perfectly. Take your time. Look professional. First impressions matter, even when they're technically second impressions. Sophia wanted to argue to assert some control over her life, but what was the point? She was being managed, handled, moved around like a chess piece in a game she didn't understand. The best she could do was play along until she figured out the rules. She showered and dressed in her best work outfit, a navy blazer and skirt she'd bought for job interviews. Looking at herself in the mirror, she almost looked like someone who belonged in Alessio Castelli's world. Almost. The car arrived exactly at 10. Not Marcus this time, but another man younger with the same professional bearing. The drive was shorter than she expected, ending at a gleaming office tower in the financial district. The elevator rose to the penthouse floor, opening into a reception area that screamed money and power. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a view of the entire city, as if to remind visitors exactly who controlled it. A secretary who looked like she'd stepped out of a fashion magazine led her to a conference room. Alessio was there, but he wasn't alone. Two other men sat at the table, one older with silver hair and kind eyes, the other younger with the sharp look of a lawyer. Ms. Ellis. Alessio stood as she entered, a gesture of respect she hadn't expected. Thank you for coming. This is Thomas Brennan, my attorney, and Dr. James Morrison, whom you met last night. She recognized the doctor now, though he looked different in a suit rather than scrubs. He gave her a small, reassuring smile. Please sit. Alessio gestured to a chair across from them. Coffee, tea. I'm fine. Emma's blood work came back, Dr. Morrison said without preamble. The infection is responding well to treatment, but I'm concerned about the frequency of these episodes. She needs the tonsillectomy we discussed, and there's evidence of some nutritional deficiencies that are compromising her immune system. I do my best with food. This isn't a criticism, Alessio interrupted. It's a situation that needs addressing. Dr. Morrison has arranged for a consultation with a pediatric specialist tomorrow. All expenses covered. Mr. Castelli, the lawyer Brennan said, sliding a document across the table. We've also taken the liberty of reviewing your custody agreement with Mr. Donovan. Sophia looked at the papers, recognizing her divorce decree. How did you public record? Brennan said smoothly. Mr. Donovan is currently $47,000 behind in child support payments. We can petition the court to garnish his assets once they're located. He doesn't have any assets. That's the problem. He has the $2 million he stole from me, Alessio said calmly. When we recover it, your portion will be set aside first. Why? Sophia asked the question, bursting out before she could stop it. Why do you care about my child support or Emma's health? What do you really want from me? Alessio leaned back in his chair, considering her. Your ex-husband has something that belongs to me. Not just money, but information that could damage my operations. You're going to help me recover both. I told you I don't know where he is. But he'll contact you again, and when he does, you'll convince him to meet with you. He's not stupid. He knows it would be a trap. He's desperate, and he cares about Emma in his own flawed way. We'll use that. Use my daughter as bait. Use his concern for her as motivation. There's a difference. Alessio stood walking to the window. Michael mentioned the flash drive contains evidence of criminal activities. He's trying to paint himself as some kind of hero gathering evidence for the FBI. Is it true what he said about trafficking? Alessio turned to face her, his expression unreadable. What do you think? I think powerful men rarely become powerful by being kind. True, but they also don't survive by being stupid. Human trafficking is messy, unpredictable, and draws federal attention. I deal in cleaner commodities, money, information, influence. So he was lying. He was misinformed. The flash drive contains financial records, yes, but they're records of money laundering operations for various criminal organizations. Nothing as dramatic as he's imagined, but damaging nonetheless. Why should I believe you over him? Because I'm not asking you to believe anything. I'm offering you a simple transaction. Help me recover what's mine, and I'll ensure you and Emma are set for life. Brennan slid another document across the table. This is a trust fund agreement. $1 million accessible when Emma turns 18, with provisions for medical and educational expenses before then. Sophia stared at the number, unable to process it. You're trying to buy me. I'm trying to secure your cooperation through mutual benefit rather than threats. Alessio returned to his seat. I could make your life very difficult, Ms. Ellis. Your job could disappear, your apartment could become uninhabitable, your ex-husband's creditors could suddenly discover your address. But I prefer positive reinforcement. And if Michael never contacts me again, if he runs, he won't, he can't. He needs the money to survive, and he knows I'll never stop looking. His only option is to make a deal either with me or the FBI. And the FBI can't protect him from me, not really. The casual certainty in his voice was chilling. This was a man who had judges on his payroll, cops who looked the other way, politicians who owed him favors. The FBI might be federal, but Alessio's reach was vast. What exactly do you want me to do? For now, go to work. Act normal. When Michael contacts you, and he will probably today, you'll agree to meet him. Somewhere public, somewhere he feels safe. You'll wear a wire and my men will be watching. You want me to wear a wire like in the movies? The technology is more sophisticated now, but essentially yes. And then what? Your men grab him. We'll recover what's ours. Michael will face consequences for his theft. You and Emma will be free to live your lives significantly more comfortable than before. You make it sound so simple. It is simple. Michael complicated it by stealing from me. You complicated it by threatening to expose him. Now we're all untangling the mess. Sophia's phone buzzed. Another unknown number. She looked at Alessio, who nodded for her to check it. It was Michael. Don't trust him. Meet me at the place where we had our first date. 2 p.m. Come alone. She showed the message to Alessio, who smiled slightly. Predictable. The Riverside Cafe, yes. We had it under surveillance this morning. How did you know where we had our first date? I know everything about you, Ms. Ellis. It's not personal, it's thorough. He stood, indicating the meeting was over. Go to work now, act normal. At 1:30, Thomas will pick you up. We'll prepare you for the meeting. What if I refuse? What if I warn Michael? Then you'll both disappear and Emma will grow up never knowing what happened to her parents. The threat was delivered calmly, almost gently. Don't mistake my civility for weakness, Ms. Ellis. I'm being nice because it's easier for everyone. But I'm fully capable of being not nice. The temperature in the room seemed to drop 10 degrees. This was the real Alessio Castelli, the one who controlled half the city's underworld. The expensive suit and professional demeanor were just window dressing on a very dangerous man. I understand, she said quietly. Good. Marcus will drive you to work. Try to have a normal morning. Your co-workers are probably worried about you after you left early yesterday. The dismissal was clear. As she stood to leave, Dr. Morrison spoke up. Emma's appointment tomorrow is at 10. The clinic address will be texted to you. She nodded and followed the secretary back to the elevator. Marcus was waiting in the lobby, the black sedan idling outside. The ride to her office was silent, giving her time to process everything. Henderson and Associates occupied 2 floors of a modest office building downtown. She'd worked there for 3 years as a paralegal, helping with real estate transactions and contract reviews. It was boring work, but stable with decent benefits, though not decent enough to cover Emma's medical needs. Her co-workers looked up as she entered, concern evident on their faces. "Sophia, we heard Emma was in the hospital." Janet, the senior paralegal, rushed over. "Is everything okay?" "She's better, thanks. Strep throat that got out of hand." "You should have called. We would have helped." If only they knew what kind of help she'd accepted instead. She made appropriate noises of gratitude and settled at her desk, trying to focus on the stack of contracts waiting for review. But her mind kept drifting to the meeting ahead, to Michael, sitting in some run-down motel room, planning his next move to Alessio in his penthouse office, moving people around like game pieces. Her computer dinged with an email from Henderson himself, asking to see her in his office. Her stomach dropped. Alessio had mentioned her job disappearing. Was this how it started? But Henderson's face was pleased when she entered, not stern. "Sophia, excellent work on the Castelli Industries contract review last month." The Castelli Industries? She didn't remember any such client. "The commercial property acquisition. You flagged several issues that saved them significant money." Mr. Castelli himself called to express his appreciation. The pieces clicked into place. Of course, Alessio owned Castelli Industries, probably among dozens of other legitimate businesses. And of course, he'd retroactively created a reason for his interest in her. "I'm recommending you for a raise," Henderson continued. 15% effective immediately, and there's a bonus for the Castelli work, $10,000. "Mr. Henderson, that's very generous, but..." "Nonsense. You've earned it. Castelli Industries is becoming one of our biggest clients, and they specifically requested you handle their accounts going forward." Another chain disguised as a gift. She was being woven into Alessio's world so thoroughly that escape would become impossible. Every financial improvement, every benefit to Emma, was another thread in the web. "Thank you," she managed. "Take the afternoon off," Henderson said. "You've been under stress with Emma's illness. We need you at your best for the Castelli accounts." She returned to her desk knowing the afternoon off wasn't Henderson's idea. Everything was being orchestrated, managed, controlled. At exactly 1:30, her phone buzzed. Thomas Brennan was waiting downstairs. The lawyer's car was less conspicuous than the black sedans, a silver Mercedes that blended with the financial district's usual traffic. He drove them to a medical building where a technician fitted her with a wire so small she couldn't even feel it once it was in place. "Just act natural," Brennan advised. "Have a normal conversation. Don't try to get information from him. That's what amateurs do, and it tips off the target. Just let him talk. What if he doesn't show up? What if he spots your men? He'll show. He's desperate and running out of options. As for our men, you won't see them, which means neither will he." They drove to the Riverside Cafe, arriving 15 minutes early. It was a small place, intimate, the kind of spot couples chose for anniversaries. She and Michael had come here on their first date 7 years ago, when he'd been charming and full of promises before the gambling and lies and abandonments. She chose a table by the window, ordered coffee she didn't want, and waited. At exactly 2 p.m., Michael walked in. He looked terrible. Gaunt, unshaven, wearing the same clothes she'd seen in the photograph Alessio had shown her. His eyes darted around the cafe, checking exits, examining other patrons. Finally, he sat across from her. "You came alone?" he asked. "Yes." The lie came easily. No, you didn't. They're watching. They're always watching. He pulled out a small device, running it over the table around his chair. The scanner passed right over her wire without a beep. Whatever technology Alessio had access to it was beyond Michael's detection capabilities. You look awful, she said, meaning it. Yeah, well, being hunted by the Mafia isn't great for the complexion. He flagged the waitress, ordered black coffee. How's Emma? Better. She's getting proper medical treatment now. From him. Yes, from him, since you couldn't be bothered. I told you, I've been trying to protect you both. Stop. Just stop with the noble sacrifice routine. You were a deadbeat dad long before any of this happened. Michael's shoulders sagged. You're right. I know you're right. But I'm trying to fix it now. By stealing $2 million from the mob. By exposing them. The flash drive, Sophia, it's not just financial records. It's everything: bribes, murders, connections to judges and politicians. It could bring down his entire organization. So give it to the FBI. I can't. Not yet. They want me to testify, to go into witness protection immediately. But there are things I need to do first. People I need to protect. What people? You don't protect anyone but yourself. That's not... There's a woman. Someone I was seeing. She's pregnant. The words hit Sophia like a physical blow. Another woman. Another child he'd abandoned when things got tough. Congratulations, she said bitterly. I need to make sure she's safe, set up somewhere Castelli can't find her. And I need money for that. That's why I took the $2 million. You stole from the Mafia to set up your pregnant girlfriend. I know how it sounds, but Lucia doesn't deserve to be pulled into this. Neither do you and Emma. Too late for that. No, it's not. I can fix this. He pulled out a flash drive, set it on the table between them. This is a copy. The original is in a safe place. Tell Castelli I'll trade it for 3 things, the $2 million, which I'll return after I've set up Lucia somewhere safe. A guarantee of safety for you, Emma and Lucia, and 48 hours to disappear. He'll never agree to that. He will if he understands what's on here. This could destroy him, Sophia. He needs this more than he needs the money. Then why haven't you used it already? Why not just release it? Because the moment I do, I'm dead. Even in witness protection, even in prison, he'd find a way. The only thing keeping me alive is that I have this and he doesn't. So you're going to run forever. Just until I can figure out a better plan. He pushed the flash drive toward her. Give this to him. Tell him my terms. She picked up the device, knowing Alessio's men were probably already moving into position. Michael, it's over. You have to know that. Not yet. I still have cards to play. What cards? You're exhausted, broke alone. Even your girlfriend doesn't know where you are, does she? His silence was answer enough. Just turn yourself in, she said. To the police, the FBI, even to Alessio. Make a deal. Stop running. I can't. You don't understand what he's capable of. I understand perfectly. I've seen his reach, his power, which is exactly why running is pointless. Michael stood abruptly. I have to go. Give him the drive, tell him my terms. I'll contact you tomorrow for his answer. Michael, wait. But he was already moving, heading not for the front door, but toward the kitchen. He'd scouted the exits, knew the cafe layout. Smart, but not smart enough. As he pushed through the kitchen door, Sophia saw a figure in chef's whites turn one of Alessio's men, positioned perfectly. Michael must have sensed the trap, because he spun, racing back through the dining room. Other patrons gasped as he vaulted over a table, sending dishes crashing. He burst through the front door just as 2 black sedans screeched to a halt outside. For a moment, Sophia thought he might actually escape. He ducked between parked cars, using them as cover, moving with the desperation of a cornered animal. Then she saw Alessio himself step out of one of the sedans, calm and composed. "Michael," he called out, his voice carrying despite the street noise. "Let's discuss this like civilized men." Michael laughed, wild and bitter. "Civilized? You're a thug in an expensive suit." "Perhaps, but I'm a thug who currently has your ex-wife and daughter under my protection. Do you really want to escalate this situation?" The threat was subtle, but clear. Michael looked at Sophia through the cafe window, and she saw the moment he realized he'd been outmaneuvered. His shoulders slumped in defeat. "The flash drive," he said. "Did she give it to you?" Sophia held it up, visible through the glass. Alessio nodded to one of his men who approached Michael, slowly, hands visible, non-threatening. "We're going to have a conversation," Alessio said. "You're going to return what you stole, and then we're going to discuss what happens next." "You're going to kill me?" "That remains to be seen. Get in the car, Michael. Don't make this harder than necessary." Michael looked around, one more time, perhaps hoping for a miracle, an escape route that didn't exist. Finally, he walked to the sedan, allowing Alessio's man to guide him inside. Alessio approached the cafe, entering with the casual confidence of someone who owned the world. The other patrons had shrunk back, pretending not to see, not to know. He sat across from Sophia, picking up the flash drive. "You did well," he said. "What happens to him now?" "That depends entirely on what's actually on this drive, and whether he's hidden any copies." He pocketed the device. "You should go home. Emma will be wondering where you are." "That's it, I'm done. For now, we'll verify the information, that recover the money, and resolve the situation with Michael. You've kept your end of the bargain. And my end of the bargain was just to get him here." "Essentially, yes. Though I suspect we'll need your assistance a bit longer. Michael mentioned a pregnant girlfriend. We'll need to locate her, ensure she's not a loose end." "I don't know anything about her." "Perhaps not. But Michael might be more willing to provide information if he knows you and Emma are safe and cared for." He stood, straightening his suit. "The trust fund papers will be delivered tomorrow. Emma's medical procedures are already scheduled. Your raise and bonus are processed. You've done very well out of this situation, Ms. Ellis. Except for being trapped in your world. There are worse worlds to be trapped in. Ask your ex-husband." He paused at the door. "Francesca will stay with Emma as long as you need. The security detail will remain for at least another week, possibly longer, depending on how cooperative Michael decides to be." After he left, Sophia sat in the cafe, staring at the spilled food and overturned chairs from Michael's escape attempt. The staff began cleaning up carefully, avoiding her table, as if she carried Alessio's danger with her. Her phone buzzed. A text from Francesca with a photo attached, Emma laughing, playing a board game, looking healthier than she had in months. The contrast between that innocent joy and what had just happened in the cafe was jarring. She stood to leave, and the manager approached nervously. "Ms. Ellis, Mr. Castelli asked me to tell you that your meals here are complimentary. Always. Anything you want." Another chain. Another kindness that was really a marking of territory. She was Alessio Castelli's now, whether she wanted to be or not. Everyone would know it, treat her differently because of it. The sedan was waiting outside, not Marcus this time, but another driver who simply nodded and opened the door. The ride home was quiet, giving her time to process everything. Michael was caught. The immediate danger was over. But somehow she knew this was just the beginning of her entanglement with Alessio's world. When she arrived home, Emma ran to greet her, full of stories about her day with Mrs. Russo. The normalcy of it was almost painful. Her daughter had no idea how dramatically their lives had changed, how many invisible threads now connected them to one of the city's most dangerous men. That night, after Emma was asleep, Sophia stood at her window again, looking down at the security detail that had become a permanent fixture. Her phone rang. Alessio. "The flash drive was interesting," he said without preamble. "Not what Michael claimed, but valuable nonetheless." "What do you mean?" "The financial records are there, yes, but nothing about trafficking, nothing that would interest the FBI particularly. Just standard money laundering, the kind they already suspect." So he was lying about everything. Not lying. Mistaken. He found what he expected to find, interpreted data to fit his assumptions. The human mind's capacity for self-deception is remarkable. What happens to him now? There was a long pause on the other end of the line, and Sophia could hear the faint sound of ice clinking in a glass. When Alessio finally spoke, his voice carried a weight that made her sink into her couch. "That depends on several factors. The $2 million needs to be recovered. His cooperation in that matter will determine much. You're going to hurt him. I'm going to have a conversation with him. Whether it becomes painful depends entirely on his honesty." Another pause, another clink of ice. "You should know that your ex-husband has been less than truthful about many things, including the pregnant girlfriend." "What do you mean?" "There is no pregnant girlfriend. Lucia exists, yes, but she left him 3 months ago when she discovered his gambling debts. The pregnancy story was an attempt to garner sympathy, perhaps make you more willing to help him." Sophia felt a familiar anger rising in her chest. Even now, even in this desperate situation, Michael was lying, manipulating, trying to play angles that didn't exist. "I should have known," she muttered. "You couldn't have. You want to believe people can change, especially the father of your child. It's admirable if naive." So everything he said was a lie. Not everything. He did steal $2 million. He does have copies of that flash drive hidden somewhere. And he is genuinely terrified, which might be the first honest emotion he's experienced in years. Through her window, Sophia could see one of the security detail checking something on his phone, the screen's glow illuminating his face in the darkness. The normalcy of the gesture, just a man checking his messages, contrasted sharply with the reality of why he was there. "I need to ask you something," Alessio continued. "And I need complete honesty. Has Michael ever mentioned a storage unit, perhaps something he rented years ago?" A storage unit. Sophia thought back through their marriage, the fights about money, the secrets that had slowly poisoned their relationship. "He had one when we were married, downtown near the train station. He said he kept old furniture there, things from his bachelor apartment." "Do you remember the facility name?" "Secure Store, I think. Or maybe Safe Store. Something generic like that." "Why, because your ex-husband is finally being cooperative, but only partially. He's admitted to hiding backup drives, but won't reveal where. Old habits, old hiding places. People rarely change their patterns." "You think he's using the same storage unit?" "I think it's worth investigating. I'll send someone tomorrow." There was something different in his voice now, a casual assumption that she would continue helping, continue being part of this world he controlled. "Mr. Castelli," she began, then stopped, unsure how to articulate what she wanted to say. "Alessio," he corrected. "We're past formalities, don't you think?" The intimacy of using his first name felt dangerous, like crossing a line she couldn't uncross. "When does this end? When am I free to just be Emma's mother again, nothing more? You were never just Emma's mother. You were Michael's victim long before you became entangled with me. At least now you're compensated for the inconvenience." "That's not—" She stopped, hearing Emma's door creak open. "Mommy." Emma stood in the hallway rubbing her eyes. I had a bad dream. I have to go, Sophia told Alessio, already moving toward her daughter. Of course, family comes first. We'll speak tomorrow. The line went dead, and Sophia gathered Emma into her arms, carrying her back to bed. Her daughter was heavier than she remembered, growing so fast, despite the illnesses that plagued her. What was the dream about, baby? There were men in dark suits, Emma whispered. They were looking for Daddy. Sophia's blood chilled. It was just a dream. Daddy's fine. Is he? I heard Mrs. Russo talking on the phone. She said Daddy was in trouble. Damn. Sophia had thought Francesca was more careful than that. Daddy has some grown-up problems to sort out, but it's nothing for you to worry about. Is that why those men are outside, to keep us safe from Daddy's problems? The question was too perceptive for a 6-year-old, but then Emma had always been observant, forced to grow up too fast by circumstances beyond her control. They're just making sure we're okay, Sophia said carefully. Like security guards at the bank. I like Mrs. Russo, Emma said, seeming to accept the explanation. She makes better pancakes than you. Thanks a lot. Sophia laughed, grateful for the change of subject. Can she stay even after Daddy's problems are fixed? The innocent question carried more weight than Emma could know. Could any of this stay, the security, the medical care, the financial stability? It all came with a price Sophia was only beginning to understand. We'll see, baby. Now back to sleep. She stayed until Emma's breathing deepened, then returned to the living room where her laptop sat open on the coffee table. Without quite knowing why, she began searching for information about Alessio Castelli. The public records were sparse but impressive. CEO of Castelli Industries, a holding company with interests in real estate, hospitality, and logistics. Philanthropist, according to several articles about donations to children's hospitals and urban renewal projects. There were photos from charity galas. Alessio, in a tuxedo, standing next to politicians and celebrities, everyone smiling for the cameras. But underneath the legitimate veneer, there were hints of the other world. News articles that mentioned his name in connection with investigations that never went anywhere. A federal prosecutor who'd been building a case against him before abruptly resigning for personal reasons. Business competitors who sold to him at surprisingly low prices after reconsidering their options. One article caught her attention, a profile from 3 years ago in a business magazine. There was a photo of Alessio at his desk, and behind him on a shelf, barely visible, was a small framed picture. She zoomed in, enhancing the image until it pixelated. It showed a young boy, maybe 7 or 8, with Alessio's same dark hair and serious expression. She'd never heard mention of him having children. In all the society pages, all the business profiles, he was always alone or with anonymous, beautiful women who never appeared twice. But that photo, the way it was positioned where he could see it while working, suggested something personal, something painful. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number, but the message made it clear who it was from. Curious about me, Sophia? If you want to know something, just ask. A. She looked at her laptop screen, then at her phone, then at the window where the security detail maintained their watch. Of course he knew what she was doing. He probably knew every keystroke, every search, every digital breath she took. Rather than being frightened, she felt oddly challenged. She typed back, "Who's the boy in the photograph?" The response took longer this time. Long enough that she wondered if she'd crossed a line, asked about something too personal. Then, "My nephew, Marco. He died 5 years ago. Leukemia." The simple, direct answer surprised her. She'd expected deflection or warning, not honesty. "I'm sorry," she typed back. "He's why I take children's welfare seriously. Why Emma will receive the best care possible." Before she could respond, another message appeared. Get some rest. Tomorrow will be eventful. She wanted to ask what that meant, but the conversation was clearly over. She closed her laptop and prepared for bed, checking on Emma once more before settling into her own room. Sleep came eventually fitful and filled with dreams of black sedans and gray eyes that saw everything. The morning brought chaos. Sophia woke to her phone ringing insistently, not a call, but an alarm she didn't remember setting. The screen showed 6 a.m. and a message, "Car arrives at 7. Business attire required." She scrambled to get ready, waking Emma and helping her dress while Francesca arrived to take over. The older woman looked tired, as if she'd been up all night. "What's happening?" Sophia asked. "Mr. Castelli needs you at the warehouse," Francesca said carefully. "There have been developments." "What kind of developments?" "The kind that require your presence." The car that arrived wasn't the usual sedan, but an SUV with tinted windows so dark they seemed to absorb light. Marcus was driving, his expression grim. 2 other men she didn't recognize sat in the back, making room for her in the middle. "Is everything okay?" she asked. "Mr. Castelli will explain," Marcus said, pulling away from the curb with smooth efficiency. They drove for 30 minutes, leaving the familiar streets of downtown for an industrial district she'd never visited. Warehouses lined the streets, most looking abandoned, their windows broken or boarded up. They pulled into one that looked as derelict as the rest from the outside, but the security cameras tracking their arrival suggested otherwise. Inside, the warehouse had been converted into something between an office and a fortress. Clean concrete floors, modern lighting, and men in suits who watched their arrival with professional interest. Alessio stood near the center, still in yesterday's suit, as if he hadn't slept. "Sophia," he said as she approached. "Thank you for coming." "Did I have a choice?" "There's always a choice. The consequences just vary." He gestured to a table where several items were laid out, flash drives, documents, and photographs. "Michael has been busy. More busy than we realized." She looked at the photographs and gasped. They were of her and Emma at the park, at school, at the grocery store. Some were recent from the last week. Others were older, going back months. "He's been watching us. For quite some time, apparently. These were in the storage unit you mentioned, along with these." He held up several flash drives, copies of everything he stole, plus additional information he'd gathered. "Your ex-husband was planning something more elaborate than simple theft." "What do you mean?" Alessio picked up a document, scanning it before handing it to her. It was a letter addressed to the FBI, outlining everything Michael knew or suspected about Alessio's operations. But more than that, it implicated her. "According to this," Alessio said calmly, "you were aware of his activities. You helped him gather information during your marriage, used your position at the law firm to access documents about my legitimate businesses." "That's insane. I know." His certainty stopped her protest. "But the FBI wouldn't know that, would they? Michael was prepared to throw you under the bus to save himself, or perhaps to ensure you couldn't cooperate with me." The betrayal shouldn't have surprised her, but it did. Even after everything, some part of her had believed Michael wouldn't deliberately hurt her or Emma. That delusion died looking at those documents, seeing how carefully he'd constructed a narrative that would destroy her. "Where is he?" she asked quietly. "In the next room, eager to explain himself. But first, I need to know, do you want to hear what he has to say?" It was the first real choice he'd offered her since this began. She could walk away, let Alessio handle Michael, however he saw fit, and never know why the man she'd once loved had been willing to destroy her. "Yes," she said. "I want to hear it." Alessio nodded, and led her to a door she hadn't noticed, steel and heavy with multiple locks. Inside was a small room, bare except for a table and chairs. Michael sat at the table, his hands cuffed in front of him, looking even worse than he had at the cafe. When he saw her, his face cycled through emotions, relief, guilt, fear, and finally settling on desperate hope. Sophia, thank God. Tell him I wasn't really going to send that letter. It was just insurance, just in case. In case what? She sat across from him, her voice steady despite the rage building in her chest. In case you needed to frame me for your crimes. It wasn't like that. I needed leverage, something to make them take me seriously. So you decided to make me and Emma your leverage. I was protecting you. If they thought you were involved, they'd put you in witness protection with me. We could have been a family again. The delusion in his words was staggering. We were never a family, Michael. You were a husband who gambled away our savings, a father who chose poker games over dance recitals, a man who left us the moment things got difficult. I made mistakes, but I was trying to fix them. By stalking us, by taking pictures of Emma at school, by planning to destroy my life if your scheme went wrong. Michael's face crumpled. I didn't know what else to do. Castelli was closing in. The FBI wanted more than I could give them, and everyone I owed money to was getting impatient. You and Emma were the only good things I ever had, and I'd thrown you away. So you decided to drag us down with you. I thought if we were in witness protection together, we could start over. New names, new life somewhere far from all this. Alessio, who had been standing silently by the door, finally spoke. The delusions of a desperate man. Tell her about the money, Michael. Michael's face went pale. What money? The $300,000 you've been skimming from my operations for the past 18 months. Before the $2 million. Before this grand theft you're so proud of. Sophia looked between them, confused. I don't understand. Your ex-husband has been stealing from me for much longer than he admitted, Alessio explained. Small amounts carefully hidden, deposited in an account under Emma's name. What? Sophia turned to Michael. You used our daughter's name for your theft. It was for her, Michael protested. Every penny was for her college, her future. I knew I was a terrible father, but I wanted to provide something, anything. You wanted to steal something, Alessio corrected. And you used your daughter's identity to do it, making her complicit in your crimes before she could even write her own name. The full scope of Michael's betrayal kept expanding, each revelation worse than the last. He hadn't just failed as a husband and father, he'd actively endangered them, used them as shields and tools for his criminal activities. The account has been frozen, Alessio told Sophia. The money will be returned, and Emma's name will be cleared from any association with it. But you should know what kind of man you married. I know exactly what kind of man I married, Sophia said quietly. I'm just finally seeing how deep it goes. She stood to leave, unable to look at Michael any longer, but his voice stopped her. Sophia, please. I know I've ruined everything, but don't let him fool you. Alessio Castelli isn't some protective benefactor. He's using you just like I did, just more skillfully. She turned back, meeting Michael's desperate gaze. Maybe, but at least he's honest about it. And he's never used Emma's name to commit crimes. Not yet, Michael said. But he will. That's what men like him do, they corrupt everything they touch. You think you're safe because he's being kind now, but kindness is just another tool to him. Alessio stepped forward, his presence filling the small room. The difference between us, Michael, is that I understand the value of loyalty. You betrayed everyone who ever trusted you. I reward those who prove themselves useful. Until they're not useful anymore. Perhaps. But Sophia and Emma will never reach that point. They're under my protection now permanently, and the finality in his voice made Michael shrink back. You can't just claim people like property. I don't claim them. I invest in them. Sophia's daughter needs medical care, she'll receive it. Sophia needs financial security, she has it. In return, she's helped me recover what you stole. It's a simple transaction that benefits everyone. Except me. You excluded yourself through your choices. Alessio turned to Sophia. We're done here, unless you have more to say to him. She looked at Michael one last time, searching for any trace of the man she'd fallen in love with years ago. But that man had probably never existed, just another lie, another performance in his endless con game. Goodbye, Michael. As she walked to the door, he called out again. What about Emma? Don't I get to see her? She's my daughter. You should have thought of that before you used her name to launder money, Alessio said coldly. Before you took photographs of her to use as leverage, before you chose your schemes over her welfare. The door closed on Michael's protests, the heavy steel muffling his voice until it disappeared entirely. Sophia found herself in the main warehouse space again, the morning sun streaming through high windows, painting everything in harsh light. What happens to him now? She asked. He'll work off his debt. 300,000 plus 2 million plus interest plus the cost of tracking him down. At reasonable terms, he should be free in about 15 years. 15 years. Unless he tries to escape or causes problems, then the terms become less reasonable. Alessio walked toward a table where coffee had been set up, pouring 2 cups without asking her preference. He's lucky, really. Others who've stolen from me haven't received such generous payment plans. She accepted the coffee, noting that he'd prepared it exactly how she liked it, another small demonstration of how thoroughly he'd researched her life. You knew about the photographs, the letter to the FBI, all of it before you brought me here, she said. It wasn't a question. I suspected. Michael isn't as clever as he thinks. His patterns are predictable, his hiding place is obvious. But I wanted you to see for yourself, to understand fully what he'd planned. So I'd be grateful to you for protecting me from it. So you'd understand that I'm not the villain in your story. Michael cast you in a tragedy. I'm offering a different genre entirely. What genre would that be? He smiled slightly, the first genuine expression she'd seen from him. That remains to be written. Marcus appeared holding a tablet. Sir, the medical transport is here for the girl. Sophia's coffee cup clattered against the saucer. Medical transport. Is Emma okay? She's fine, Alessio assured her. But her consultation with the specialist was moved up. They had a cancellation and can see her this morning. Francesca is taking her. I should be there. You will be. We're leaving now. He checked his watch. We should arrive just as they finish the initial examination. The ride to the medical facility was different from the morning's journey. Alessio sat beside her in the back of a different car, a Bentley, that made even the Mercedes seem pedestrian. He spent most of the ride on his phone conducting business in rapid Italian, occasionally switching to English for certain terms. She watched the city pass by, noting how different it looked from this perspective. The tinted windows turned everything slightly darker, more mysterious. Or maybe that was just her new understanding of how things really worked, the invisible networks of power and obligation that ran beneath the surface. The medical facility was in the suburbs, a gleaming complex that looked more like a high-end hotel than a hospital. Emma was in an examination room chattering happily with a doctor who seemed genuinely charmed by her stories. Mommy? Emma brightened when she saw her. Dr. Patterson says my tonsils are troublemakers and need to go to timeout. Dr. Patterson. A woman in her 50s with kind eyes stood to shake Sophia's hand. Mrs. Ellis, Emma's been telling me all about her new friend, Mrs. Russo, and the nice man with sad eyes. Sophia glanced at Alessio, who had stopped in the doorway, maintaining a respectful distance from the medical consultation. The examination confirms what we suspected, Dr. Patterson continued. Chronic tonsillitis has been weakening her immune system. The surgery is straightforward, but given her history, I'd like to do some additional blood work to rule out any underlying conditions. Whatever she needs, Sophia said. The procedure is scheduled for Thursday. She'll stay overnight for observation, then recovery at home for about a week. Mrs. Russo has already volunteered to help with home care. Of course she had. Every detail managed, every need anticipated. After the consultation, as they prepared to leave, Emma tugged on Alessio's suit jacket. He looked down at her, his expression softening in a way that transformed his entire face. Thank you for making my mommy not worry so much, Emma said solemnly. She worries all the time, but not as much since you helped us. Alessio crouched down to her level, something Sophia couldn't imagine him doing for anyone else. Your mommy is very brave. She worries because she loves you. Do you have kids? No. Why not? Emma, Sophia warned, but Alessio held up a hand. Because my life is complicated, he told Emma honestly. Children deserve simple things, love, safety, happiness. I can provide some of those, but not all. That's sad, Emma said matter-of-factly. You'd be a good daddy. You have the right kind of voice for bedtime stories. Something flickered across Alessio's face, pain perhaps, or longing. Then it was gone, replaced by his usual controlled expression. Thank you, Piccola. That's very kind. As they walked to the cars, Francesca taking Emma in one vehicle while Sophia rode with Alessio, she couldn't stop thinking about that moment. The man who terrified hardened criminals had been completely disarmed by a 6-year-old's innocent observation. She's remarkable, Alessio said once they were alone. You've done well with her despite the circumstances. She deserves better than what she's had. She'll have better now. Because you've decided we're worth investing in. He turned to look at her fully, those storm-gray eyes intense. Because you're under my protection. That means something in my world. No one will hurt you or Emma. No creditor will harass you. No illness will go untreated. No need will go unmet. And in return, you continue being who you are. A good mother. A competent professional, a woman who understands that the world isn't black and white but infinite shades of gray. That's all, for now. The implication hung between them unspoken but clear. There would be more eventually. Whether that more was professional, personal, or something else entirely remained to be seen. They drove back to her apartment building, his building now, she reminded herself. As she got out, he caught her hand, his touch surprisingly gentle. There's a dinner tomorrow night, a charity function for the Children's Hospital. I'd like you to accompany me. As what? As my guest. Nothing more, nothing less. She knew she should refuse. Appearing publicly with Alessio Castelli would cement her position in his world, make it clear to everyone that she was under his protection and subject to his influence. But she thought of Emma, of the surgery. She needed the care she was receiving, the future that was suddenly possible. She thought of the trust fund, the security, the chance for her daughter to have everything Sophia couldn't provide on her own. What time? She asked. His smile was subtle, but pleased. 7. A dress will be delivered tomorrow afternoon. I can buy my own dress. You could, but mine will be better. The arrogance should have annoyed her, but somehow it just seemed like honesty. Everything about Alessio Castelli was better, more expensive, more powerful, more dangerous. As she entered her building, nodding to the security that had become a constant presence, she wondered what she was becoming. Not just a single mother anymore, not just a paralegal struggling to make ends meet. She was under the protection of one of the city's most dangerous men, and that protection was changing her in ways she was only beginning to understand. The dress arrived at 3 o'clock the next afternoon in a box so elegant that Emma insisted they save it for her dolls. It was midnight blue silk that seemed to flow like water through Sophia's fingers, with subtle beading that caught the light just enough to mesmerize without overwhelming. The kind of dress she'd seen in store windows but never imagined owning. "You look like a princess, Mommy," Emma said from her perch on Sophia's bed, watching her mother examine herself in the mirror. "It's too much," Sophia murmured, though she couldn't deny how perfectly it fit, as if it had been tailored specifically for her. Which, knowing Alessio, it probably had been. "Mr. Castelli has excellent taste," Francesca said from the doorway, holding a smaller box. These came as well. Shoes, of course. Heels that were somehow both elegant and comfortable, the exact height that would put her at the perfect level next to Alessio. A pair of diamond earrings that Sophia immediately recognized as real and immediately decided she couldn't wear. "Those must be worth—" "Don't think about the cost," Francesca interrupted. "Mr. Castelli doesn't do anything halfway. If you show up in costume jewelry, it reflects poorly on him." "Heaven forbid I embarrass the Mafia boss," Sophia muttered, but she put the earrings on anyway. They caught the light like captured stars. Emma was practically bouncing with excitement. "Are you going to dance like in the movies?" "It's just a dinner, baby." "But if there's music, you have to dance. That's the rule." Francesca smiled. "She's right. These charity events always have dancing. Do you know how to waltz, Sophia? I took lessons once, for my wedding." The memory stung. Michael had complained about the cost, then gotten drunk, and forgotten the steps during their reception. "Mr. Castelli is an excellent dancer," Francesca said, beginning to help with Sophia's hair. "His mother insisted on lessons when he was young. Said a gentleman should know how to properly escort a lady. His mother, she passed 10 years ago, cancer." Francesca's hands were gentle but efficient, creating an elegant updo that made Sophia look sophisticated rather than merely pretty. "She would have liked you. You knew her. I worked for the family before her illness. She was formidable. Ran the charitable foundations while his father handled the business. When she died, Mr. Castelli took over both. The legitimate businesses or the other ones." Francesca met her eyes in the mirror. "In his world, everything is business. The divisions you see are just different departments." At 6:30, Marcus knocked on the door. Sophia kissed Emma goodbye, promised to tell her everything about the party, and followed him down to where Alessio waited beside the Bentley. He was in a tuxedo that probably cost more than most people's cars, and he wore it with the casual confidence of someone born to such things. When he saw her, something shifted in his expression, a flash of appreciation that made her pulse quicken. "You look stunning," he said simply, helping her into the car. "The dress is beautiful, thank you." "The dress is just fabric. You make it beautiful." The compliment was delivered matter-of-factly, which somehow made it more powerful than flowery praise would have been. As they drove through the city, Sophia watched him from the corner of her eye. He was checking his phone, reviewing what looked like donor lists and seating charts. "Tell me about this event," she said. "Annual fundraiser for the Children's Hospital. $500 a plate, silent auction, the usual society circus. But it raises nearly $2 million each year for pediatric cancer research." "Is that why you support it? Because of your nephew?" his fingers stilled on his phone. Marco received treatment there. Some of the best doctors in the country, the most advanced treatments available. It wasn't enough, but they gave us 2 more years than anyone else thought possible. What was he like? Curious about everything, obsessed with puzzles and codes. He wanted to be a detective when he grew up, said he'd arrest me one day. A ghost of a smile touched his lips. I told him I'd make sure to commit only the most interesting crimes for him to solve. You were close. He was my sister's only child. When her husband left after the diagnosis, I became the male figure in his life. He put his phone away, looking out the window. I learned more about courage from that 7-year-old than from all the dangerous men I've known. The hotel ballroom was a sea of glittering gowns and designer tuxedos. The city's elite gathered to celebrate their own generosity. Sophia recognized faces from newspaper society pages, television, news, politics. And they all seemed to recognize Alessio. Mr. Castelli, a silver-haired man, approached his politician's smile, perfectly practiced. How wonderful to see you. And who is this lovely lady? Sophia Ellis, Alessio said smoothly. Sophia, this is Senator Morrison. The senator's eyes sharpened with interest. Ellis from Henderson and Associates. Yes, she managed, surprised he'd know her firm. Excellent work on the Riverside Development Project. The city council was impressed with the proposal. She had no idea what he was talking about, but Alessio's hand on her lower back suggested she should play along. Thank you. It was a team effort. As the senator moved on, she whispered, What proposal? The one your firm will be submitting next week. You'll be lead paralegal on it. Another opportunity for you to shine professionally. You can't just, I can and I did. You're talented, Sophia. You've been wasted on routine contract reviews. This will showcase your abilities. Before she could argue, they were approached by another couple, then another. Each introduction was carefully managed, Alessio presenting her simply as Sophia Ellis, allowing people to draw their own conclusions about their relationship. She noticed how he positioned himself, always slightly protective, his hand never quite leaving her back, a subtle claim that everyone seemed to understand. Is that Thomas Brennan's latest acquisition? A woman in diamonds, asked, her tone carrying an edge of something Sophia couldn't identify. I'm here as myself, Sophia replied, recognizing the lawyer's name from her meeting at Alessio's office. Of course you are, dear. The woman's smile was sharp. We all are. After she left, Alessio murmured, Vivian Cross. Her husband launders money through art galleries. She likes to pretend she doesn't know where their wealth comes from. And she thinks I'm the same, willfully ignorant. She thinks you're smart enough to grab opportunity when it presents itself. They found their table front and center, naturally shared with other major donors, including a federal judge and his wife, a real estate developer Sophia recognized from billboards, and surprisingly, Dr. Morrison from the hospital. Mrs. Ellis, the doctor greeted her warmly. How's Emma? Much better, thanks to you. Thanks to proper treatment finally being available, he corrected. She's a delightful child. Dinner conversation flowed around business and charity, carefully avoiding anything too substantial. Sophia found herself oddly comfortable, her legal training, helping her navigate the conversational minefields. Alessio was an attentive companion, ensuring her wineglass was never empty, explaining inside references she wouldn't catch, creating a bubble of inclusion in this foreign world. Then the dancing began. The band struck up a waltz, and couples moved onto the floor with practiced ease. Alessio stood offering his hand. Shall we? I'm not very good. I am. He led her onto the floor, one hand settling at her waist, the other holding hers with gentle firmness. Just follow my lead. He moved with the same controlled grace he brought to everything, guiding her through the steps until she forgot to be nervous. The room seemed to fade away, leaving just the music and the solid presence of his body leading hers. "You're full of surprises," she said, as he spun her elegantly. "My mother believed a man should be accomplished in all the social graces. Dancing languages, wine selection, and the proper way to dispose of enemies." She looked up sharply, but there was humor in his eyes. "That was a joke," he assured her. "Mostly." "Do you ever just say what you mean? Without the games and implications? Where would be the fun in that?" He dipped her slightly perfectly timed to the music. "But for you, I'll try. You look absolutely beautiful tonight. Being here with you feels surprisingly right. And your ex-husband is an idiot for not realizing what he had." The directness caught her off guard, made her stumble slightly. He caught her easily, pulling her closer to steady her. For a moment, they were pressed together more intimately than the dance required, and she could smell his cologne, feel the steady beat of his heart. "Mr. Castelli," a voice interrupted. "May I cut in?" They separated to find a man in his 40s, handsome in a calculated way, smiling at them both. "Detective Raymond." Alessio's voice carried a warning. "I didn't realize you were a supporter of children's charities." "I support all kinds of causes. Mrs. Ellis, would you honor me with a dance?" She looked between them, sensing the tension, the undercurrent of something dangerous. Alessio's jaw was tight, but he nodded slightly. "One dance," he said, though it wasn't clear if he was giving permission or setting a limit. Detective Raymond was a competent dancer, but after Alessio he felt clumsy. He held her too tightly, his palm slightly damp against hers. "You're new to Castelli's circle," he said as they moved. "I'm not in anyone's circle." "No. The dress says otherwise. The security detail at your apartment says otherwise. The sudden resolution of your custody issues says otherwise." Her stomach dropped. "You've been watching me." "I've been watching him. You're just caught in the crossfire. But you seem like a nice woman, a good mother. You don't belong in his world. And you're what warning me out of the kindness of your heart. I'm offering you an alternative. Help us build a case against him, and we'll ensure you and your daughter are protected. Real protection, not the kind that comes with strings. I don't know anything about his business. You know more than you think, and you'll learn more, especially now that he's parading you around like this." He spun her, using the movement to lean closer. "Your ex-husband is already cooperating. Smart man choosing witness protection over whatever Castelli had planned. Michael is in witness protection. Will be once he gives us everything. But his testimony alone won't be enough. We need someone on the inside. Someone Castelli trusts." "He doesn't trust me." "Not yet. But he wants you. That's obvious to everyone in this room. Use it. Get close to him, learn his secrets, and then get out before you're too deep to escape." The music ended, and immediately Alessio was there, his hand proprietary on her elbow. "Thank you for the dance, detective," he said coolly. "Enjoy the rest of your evening, somewhere else." Raymond smirked. "Always a pleasure, Castelli. Mrs. Ellis, think about what I said." After he walked away, Alessio guided her to a quiet corner, his hand still on her arm. "What did he want?" "To warn me about you. To offer me a deal. And..." She looked up at him, this dangerous man who'd taken over her life in a matter of days. "And I told him I don't know anything about your business." "That wasn't what I was asking." "Then what were you asking? Are you going to take his deal?" The question hung between them, heavy with implication. Around them, the party continued, oblivious to the moment, balanced on a knife's edge. I don't know, she said honestly. Should I? That depends on what you want. Safety. Raymond can't provide it. Money. The government won't match what I'm offering. A normal life that ended the moment you sent that text. Then what can you offer that he can't? Alessio moved closer, his voice dropping to an intimate level. Truth. I'll never lie to you about what I am or what I do. Protection that actually means something. A future where Emma has every opportunity, every advantage. And perhaps if you're interested, something more. More? His fingers traced along her bare arm, leaving goosebumps in their wake. I think you know what I mean. She did. She'd felt it in the way he looked at her and the way he touched her, while dancing the careful attention he paid to every detail of her life. It should terrify her, the interest of a man like him. Instead, she found herself leaning into his touch. This is complicated, she whispered. Everything worthwhile is. Someone called his name, breaking the moment. He stepped back, but his eyes remained on hers. We should circulate, he said. People are watching. People are always watching. Yes, but tonight I don't mind them seeing you with me. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of introductions and conversations. Alessio always nearby, always aware of where she was and who was speaking to her. She noticed other things too, the way certain people avoided them, the way others seemed eager to gain his approval, the careful dance of power and fear that followed him everywhere. During the auction, he bid absurd amounts on items with casual raises of his hand. A week at a vineyard in Italy, a painting by a local artist, a vintage car he probably didn't need. Each winning bid drew applause, adding to the evening's total for the hospital. $20,000 for a painting, she asked after one particularly aggressive bidding war. It's for the children, he said with a slight smile. Besides, the artist is talented. Her work will be worth much more in a few years. How do you know? Because I'll make sure of it. A few purchases by the right collectors, a gallery showing some strategic press value, is often about perception, Sophia. Like everything else in your world. Like everything in every world. The only difference is I'm honest about manipulating it. As the evening wound down, she excused herself to the ladies' room. The bathroom was as elegant as everything else, all marble and soft lighting. She was checking her lipstick when Vivian Cross entered. Still here, I see, the woman said, touching up her own makeup. Most of Alessio's dates don't last the entire evening. I'm not his date. No. Then what are you? Sophia considered the question. What was she not an employee, not exactly a prisoner, not quite a willing participant? I'm figuring that out, she said finally. Vivian laughed, a sound like breaking glass. Let me give you some advice, dear. Men like Alessio Castelli don't have relationships. They have arrangements, transactions, temporary fascinations. Enjoy it while it lasts, take what you can get, and don't expect anything permanent. Did you have an arrangement with him? God, no. Alessio prefers his women without complications, and I came with a husband attached. She closed her compact with a snap. But I've watched him for years. He's had plenty of beautiful women on his arm, but none who lasted. There's something broken in him, something that doesn't quite connect the way it should. His nephew's death. Vivian's expression softened slightly. That certainly didn't help. But the damage was there before I think. His father was a hard man, his mother tried to compensate with culture and charity, and Alessio got caught between their worlds. He learned to be both civilized and savage often in the same moment. Why are you telling me this? Because you seem nice and you have a child to think about. Don't let him pull you too deep. Take the money, the protection, whatever he's offering, but keep your heart out of it. Men like him don't change, they just get better at pretending. She left Sophia alone with her reflection, the warning echoing in the elegant space. But when Sophia returned to the ballroom and saw Alessio waiting for her, his face softening when he spotted her, she wondered if Vivian was wrong. Or maybe she just wanted her to be. The ride home was quiet, the city lights streaming past the windows like shooting stars. Alessio had removed his bow tie, the top button of his shirt undone, making him look more human and somehow more dangerous at the same time. "Detective Raymond will approach you again," he said eventually. "He's building a case, needs someone inside my organization." "I know. If you decide to help him, I need to know. So you can stop me, so I can protect you. The FBI has a terrible track record of keeping their informants safe. I'd hate to see you become another statistic." "Is that a threat?" "It's a fact. 3 informants in the last 5 years, all promised protection, all dead within months of testifying." He turned to look at her. "I don't kill informants, Sophia. But their other enemies do, and the FBI can't stop it. So my choice is between trusting you or trusting them. Your choice is between a devil you know and a bureaucracy that will sacrifice you the moment it's convenient." The car pulled up to her building. He got out, walking her to the entrance where Marcus stood guard. At the door, he stopped, turning to face her. "I enjoyed tonight," he said simply. "More than I expected." "So did I," she admitted. He reached up, fingers ghosting across her cheek. "There's something about you, Sophia Ellis. Something that makes me want things I thought I'd stopped wanting." "What things?" "Dangerous things. Impossible things. Things that would change everything." The intensity in his eyes made her heart race. She should step back, go inside, put distance between them. Instead, she found herself leaning into his touch. "I should go," she whispered. "Emma will be waiting to hear about the party." "Of course." But he didn't move, and neither did she. The moment stretched electric with possibility. Then his phone rang, shattering the spell. He answered in Italian, his expression hardening as he listened. Whatever the news, it wasn't good. "I have to go," he said, ending the call. "There's been an incident at one of my warehouses." "Is everything okay?" "It will be." He pressed something into her hand, a phone, sleek and expensive. "This is encrypted, untraceable. My number is programmed. If you need anything, anytime, call me." Then he was gone, the Bentley disappearing into the night, leaving her standing in her doorway with a phone that felt like another chain, another connection to his world. Inside, Emma was still awake despite the late hour, eager for every detail. Sophia told her about the dancing, the beautiful dresses, the fancy dinner, carefully editing out the darker undercurrents. But as she tucked her daughter in, Emma asked a question that stopped her cold. "Are you falling in love with Mr. Castelli?" "What? No, baby. Why would you think that?" "Because you smile when you talk about him. Real smiles, not the pretend ones you do sometimes. Out of the mouths of babes." Sophia kissed her forehead, unable to answer honestly. Was she falling for him? This dangerous man who'd upended their lives, who offered protection with one hand and held threats with the other. Later, alone in her room, she held the phone he'd given her, scrolling through the contacts. Only one number was programmed, listed simply as A. She thought about calling, asking about the warehouse incident, hearing his voice again. Instead, she set the phone aside and tried to sleep. But her dreams were full of waltzes and warnings, gray eyes and gentle touches, a world of shadow and light, where nothing was quite what it seemed. Somewhere in the city, Alessio Castelli was dealing with whatever crisis had called him away. And somewhere else, Detective Raymond was probably planning his next approach. Between them, Sophia was caught in a web that got more complex with each passing day. But as she finally drifted off to sleep, she found herself thinking not of the danger or the complications, but of the way Alessio had held her, while they danced like she was something precious, in a world where precious things rarely survived. Maybe that was enough. Maybe that was everything. The phone on her nightstand buzzed once. A text from that single contact. Home safe. Sweet dreams, Sophia. She smiled in the darkness, a real smile, as Emma would say, and let herself believe just for tonight that this could end well. That somewhere between the devil and the deep blue sea she might find a place to stand. Tomorrow would bring new complications, new choices, new dangers. But tonight she'd danced with a dangerous man who looked at her like she was magic. And for now, that was enough. The morning arrived with an unexpected visitor. Sophia had just finished getting Emma ready for her pre-surgery appointments when the doorbell rang. Through the peephole, she saw a woman in her 30s, elegant in a way that suggested old money, rather than new, holding a leather portfolio. Mrs. Ellis, I'm Isabella Castelli, Alessio's sister. The resemblance was unmistakable once she knew to look for it. The same dark hair, the same sharp cheekbones, though Isabella's eyes were warmer, touched by laugh lines that suggested she smiled more than her brother. I didn't know he had a sister, Sophia said, opening the door but leaving the chain on. He doesn't advertise family connections. May I come in? I promise I'm the least dangerous Castelli you'll ever meet. Something about her self-deprecating tone made Sophia relax. She undid the chain, stepping aside to let Isabella enter. Emma peeked out from behind her mother, curious about the stranger. You must be Emma, Isabella said, crouching down to the child's level. Your mother was the belle of the ball last night. Everyone's talking about the woman who got Alessio Castelli to actually dance. Mommy's a good dancer, Emma said proudly. She taught me to twirl. Perhaps you'll show me sometime. But first I have something for your mother. Isabella straightened, handing Sophia the portfolio. The Riverside Development Project. Alessio mentioned you'd be working on it. Sophia opened the portfolio, finding detailed plans, financial projections, architectural renderings. It was a massive undertaking, converting old warehouses into mixed-income housing retail spaces and a community center. The kind of project that could transform a neighborhood. This is legitimate, she asked, surprised by the scope and apparent altruism of it. Completely. My brother isn't all darkness and danger despite what he'd like people to think. This project will create affordable housing for 300 families, plus jobs, plus community resources. Isabella sat on the couch, her posture perfect but relaxed. Our mother started it before she died. Alessio's finishing it. Why does he want me involved? Because you're good at what you do and because he trusts you. At Sophia's skeptical look, Isabella laughed. I know trust isn't a word usually associated with my brother, but he called me at 3 this morning talking about you. About the project. About you. How you handled yourself at the charity event. How Detective Raymond tried to turn you and you didn't bite. How you look at him like he's a man instead of a monster. Sophia felt heat rise in her cheeks. It's okay. He needs someone who sees him as human. He's forgotten that part of himself since Marco died. Isabella's expression grew sad. My son adored him, you know. Alessio was the one who made him laugh during chemo, who stayed overnight at the hospital when I couldn't bear it anymore. The legitimate businesses, the charity work, that's who he really is. The other stuff is just what he inherited from our father. The other stuff being organized crime. The other stuff being the price of power in this city. You can't run legitimate businesses here without dealing with the illegitimate ones. Our father chose to control both rather than be controlled by them. Alessio inherited that choice. Emma had wandered closer, drawn by the adult conversation she didn't understand. Isabella smiled at her, pulling something from her purse, a small wrapped package. I brought you something, Emma. May I? Emma looked at Sophia, who nodded. The child carefully unwrapped the gift, revealing a beautiful music box with a dancing ballerina inside. When she wound it up, it played a hauntingly pretty melody. It was Marco's, Isabella said softly. He'd want another child to enjoy it. Emma's eyes widened. But if it was his, shouldn't you keep it? The best way to keep someone's memory alive is to share the things they loved. Marco loved that music box, loved watching the ballerina spin. Now you can love it too. Emma wound it up again, mesmerized by the spinning figure. Isabella turned back to Sophia. I came here for 3 reasons. First, to bring you the project files. Second, to meet the woman who's got my brother twisted in knots. And third, to warn you. Warn me. Alessio doesn't do things halfway. If he's decided you're his, he'll move heaven and earth to keep you. That can be wonderful or terrible depending on your perspective. I'm not his. Aren't you? You're living in his building, protected by his security, wearing his diamonds to his events. Your daughter is receiving medical care from his doctors. Your ex-husband is currently learning the consequences of crossing him. If you're not his, you're doing an excellent impression of it. The truth of the words stung. In less than a week, Alessio had woven himself into every aspect of their lives. Even now, even knowing what he was, Sophia couldn't imagine going back to the way things were before. What would you do? She asked Isabella. If you were me. I'd run, Isabella said without hesitation. But then I'm a coward when it comes to love. I've seen what it can do, how it can destroy everything when it goes wrong. Our parents loved each other passionately, and it turned them into weapons against each other. Alessio watched that, learned from it. He's never let anyone close enough to hurt him since. Until now. That remains to be seen. But I'll tell you this, if you do run, do it now, before he falls completely. Because once Alessio Castelli loves someone, he'll never let them go. And if they betray him, she shook her head. Just don't betray him. After Isabella left, Sophia sat with the project files, trying to focus on the work, while Emma played with her new music box. But her mind kept drifting to Isabella's warning, to the implications of what was happening. She was being pulled deeper into Alessio's world, and the scariest part was how little she wanted to resist. The encrypted phone buzzed. A message from Alessio. How did you find my sister? She typed back, intense, like someone else I know. She likes you. That's rare. Should I be flattered or worried? Both. Isabella's approval means you're really part of this now. There's no going back. Before she could respond, another text arrived. I need to see you tonight. After Emma's surgery. It's important. Emma's surgery. She'd almost forgotten in the chaos of meeting Isabella. In 2 hours, her daughter would be going under anesthesia, having her tonsils removed, starting the process of getting truly healthy for the first time in years. We'll be at the hospital all day, she typed. I know, I'll be there. You don't have to. I want to. No one should wait alone. The simple kindness of it made her eyes burn. Michael had never come to Emma's medical appointments, always too busy, too stressed, too something. But Alessio Castelli, who ran a criminal empire and had a warehouse crisis to deal with, was making time to sit in a hospital waiting room. The surgery went perfectly. Dr. Patterson kept Sophia updated throughout, and when Emma woke up groggy but stable, Alessio was there with a stuffed elephant almost as big as Emma herself. For being brave, he told the little girl who, despite her sore throat, managed to smile. You came, Emma whispered hoarsely. I promised I would. You keep promises. It wasn't a question, but a statement of fact from a child who'd learned too young that not everyone did. Always, Alessio said solemnly, especially to brave little girls and their mothers. While Emma dozed, he and Sophia sat in comfortable silence in the hospital room. He'd changed from his usual suit into dark jeans and a sweater, looking more approachable but no less dangerous. There was always that edge to him, that sense of controlled violence just beneath the surface. Isabella mentioned you called her at 3 in the morning, Sophia said eventually. I wanted her opinion on something. On me. On the situation. Isabella's the only person I trust completely. She's also the only person who'll tell me when I'm being an idiot. And what did she say? That I'm moving too fast. That you need time to adjust. That Emma needs stability, not more chaos. He paused. She's right, of course. But I've never been patient when I want something. And you want what? He turned to look at her fully, those gray eyes intense. You, completely. Not just under my protection, but in my life. In my bed. At my side. The directness of it should have scared her. Instead, she felt heat pool in her stomach, an answering want that shocked her with its intensity. That's not simple, she managed. Nothing about this is simple. You're the ex-wife of a man who stole from me. You have a child who needs stability. I have enemies who would use you against me. Every logical argument says I should keep you at a distance. But when I saw you dancing last night when I held you, I felt something I haven't felt in years. Peace. Like all the noise in my head finally went quiet. He reached over, taking her hand. I don't know what to do with that. Maybe you don't have to do anything with it. Maybe you can just feel it. Men in my position don't have the luxury of just feeling things. Everything has consequences, implications, ripple effects. Then what do you want from me? Time. A chance. The opportunity to prove that being with me doesn't mean sacrificing who you are. Before she could respond, Emma stirred, whimpering in her sleep. Both of them moved simultaneously, Sophia adjusting her daughter's blanket, while Alessio checked the IV line with surprising competence. You've done this before, she observed. With Marco. Dozens of times. His hand lingered on Emma's forehead, checking for fever. It's easier when it's not your own child. The fear isn't as sharp. Do you want children? The question surprised them both. He pulled back, considering. I thought I did once, before I understood what my life would really be. Now, children deserve better than a father with blood on his hands. Isabella said the criminal side isn't who you really are. Isabella sees what she wants to see. The truth is, I'm both. The man who builds community centers and the man who orders executions. The man who donates millions to children's hospitals and the man who launders money through shell companies. You can't separate the parts, Sophia. They're all me. And you think that makes you unworthy of love. I think it makes me dangerous to love. Emma woke then, needing water, needing comfort, breaking the heavy moment. They spent the rest of the afternoon taking turns reading to her, playing quiet games, creating a bubble of normalcy in the hospital room. Alessio was surprisingly good with Emma, patient with her questions, gentle with her fears. As evening approached, Francesca arrived to take the night shift, insisting Sophia go home to rest. I should stay, Sophia began. You've been here all day. Emma needs you strong for tomorrow. Go home, shower, sleep. I'll call if anything changes. Alessio drove her home himself, dismissing Marcus for the evening. The car was different, a regular Mercedes instead of the flashy Bentley, something that blended into traffic. Trying to be inconspicuous, she asked. Detective Raymond has increased surveillance. No need to make his job easier. Is that why you really wanted to see me tonight? To warn me about the police? No. He pulled into her building's garage but didn't park in the usual spot. Instead, he drove to a section she'd never seen using a key card to access a private area. I wanted to show you something. They took an elevator she didn't know existed, rising past her floor to the penthouse she hadn't realized the building had. The doors opened into an apartment that took her breath away, floor-to-ceiling windows, offering panoramic city views, modern furniture, that managed to be both elegant and comfortable art that she suspected was museum quality. What is this? My apartment. One of them, anyway. You live in my building. I own your building. It made sense to keep a residence here. He moved to the windows, the city lights casting him in silhouette. But that's not what I wanted to show you. He led her to a door off the main room, opening it to reveal what could only be described as a child's paradise. A bedroom decorated in soft purples and greens, with built-in bookshelves, a reading nook by the window, toys appropriate for a 6-year-old girl. Everything top quality but not ostentatious, chosen with care and thought. This is for Emma, he said quietly. If you decide to move up here, the master bedroom is through there set up for you. Your own space, your own locks if you want them. No expectations, no pressure. Just an option. Sophia stood frozen, staring at the room that represented everything she couldn't provide for her daughter on her own. Safety, stability, luxury, opportunity. All of it offered freely except nothing, with Alessio, was really free. Everything came with invisible strings. When did you do this? I had it started the day after we met. Completed yesterday while we were at the hospital. You assumed I'd say yes? I hoped you'd consider it. She walked through the room, touching the soft fabrics, the carefully chosen books, the toys that were educational but fun. It was perfect, which made it terrifying. What happens if I say no? Then it stays empty until you change your mind. And if I never do, then I'll have a very nice guest room and a constant reminder of what I couldn't have. She turned to face him. You could have any woman in the city. Why me? Because you don't want me for my money or my power. Because you see me as a man, not a meal ticket or a monster. Because when I'm with you, I remember who I was before all of this. He moved closer, not touching, but near enough that she could feel his warmth. Because you make me want to be better than I am. I can't change you, Alessio. I won't even try. I'm not asking you to. I'm asking you to accept me as I am. All of it. The good and the bad, the legal and the illegal, the man who reads stories to your daughter and the man who orders people killed when they betray me. That's a lot to accept. Yes, it is. They stood there in the room designed for Emma, surrounded by evidence of his thoughtfulness and his assumptions, his generosity and his control. Sophia knew she should leave, should maintain the boundaries that were already too blurred. But something kept her there, some pull she couldn't quite name. Show me the rest, she said finally. He did, walking her through the penthouse, showing her the kitchen designed by someone who understood both functionality and beauty, the office where she could work from home, the terrace with its protected play area for Emma. Every detail had been considered, every need anticipated. The master bedroom was last decorated in soft grays and blues that reminded her of his eyes. The bed was massive, the ensuite bathroom featuring a tub that looked like heaven after years of her building's temperamental shower. But what caught her attention was the small framed photo on the nightstand. Emma at the hospital laughing at something Alessio had said. When did you take this? I didn't. Francesca did. She thought I'd want it. Do you want it? More than I expected. He was standing behind her now, close enough that she could feel him breathe. I want both of you more than I expected. She turned, looking up at him, seeing the hunger in his eyes, but also the restraint. He wouldn't push, wouldn't take what wasn't offered. For a man used to taking whatever he wanted, it was a remarkable display of control. "I should go," she whispered, but didn't move. "You should," he agreed, but his hand came up to cup her cheek, thumb tracing her cheekbone. The kiss, when it came, was inevitable. Soft at first, almost questioning, then deeper as she responded. His arms came around her, pulling her against him, and she could feel the strength of him, the barely leashed power. It should have frightened her. Instead, she felt safe, protected, wanted in a way she hadn't experienced in years. When they broke apart, both breathing unsteadily, he rested his forehead against hers. "Stay," he said quietly. "Just to sleep, I promise. I want you here." It was the vulnerability in his voice that decided her. This man who commanded an empire, who made hardened criminals tremble, was asking her to simply be present. Not for sex, not for conquest, but for the comfort of not being alone. "Just to sleep," she agreed. He gave her clothes to change into a t-shirt that smelled like him, pajama pants that were too long. They lay in the massive bed, not touching, but aware of each other, the city lights painting patterns on the ceiling. "Tell me something true," she said into the darkness. "Something you've never told anyone." He was quiet for so long she thought he wouldn't answer. "Then I dream about Marco. Not nightmares, just dreams where he's alive, where he grew up to arrest me like he promised. Sometimes I wake up and for a moment I forget he's gone. Those moments of forgetting are the worst part." She reached over, finding his hand in the darkness, threading their fingers together. "Tell me something true," he said back. "I'm terrified of what I'm starting to feel for you. And I'm more terrified of what it could mean for Emma. But when I'm with you, when you look at me like I matter, I feel more alive than I have in years." He squeezed her hand, and they lay there in silence, connected by that simple touch. Eventually, she felt him relax into sleep, his breathing evening out. She should have felt trapped lying in the bed of a dangerous man in an apartment she hadn't known existed. Instead, she felt a strange sense of rightness, as if this was exactly where she was supposed to be. Tomorrow would bring complications. Detective Raymond wouldn't give up. Michael was still out there somewhere, possibly in witness protection, possibly planning something else. The FBI was building their case. Alessio's enemies would eventually notice her, see her as a weakness to exploit. But tonight, she was safe in the penthouse above the city, holding hands, with a man who could destroy her, but chose to protect her instead. It wasn't love, not yet. But it was something. Something real and dangerous, and possibly wonderful. As she finally drifted off to sleep, she thought about Emma in the hospital, about the room Alessio had prepared for her, about the life he was offering them. It came with strings, yes. But maybe, just maybe, those strings were strong enough to hold them all together. The last thing she remembered was Alessio pulling her closer in his sleep, murmuring something in Italian she didn't understand. But the tone was clear, possessive, protective, and underneath it all, achingly tender. She let herself sink into his warmth, into the illusion of safety, into the dangerous comfort of being wanted by someone who took what he wanted and never let go. Tomorrow could bring its complications. Tonight, she was exactly where she wanted to be, even if she wasn't quite ready to admit it yet. The transformation from desperate single mother to the protected woman of Alessio Castelli was almost complete. All that remained was for her to decide if that transformation was a salvation or a surrender. In the darkness, with his arms around her, and the city spread out below them like a kingdom waiting to be claimed, she thought it might be both.